Hi, welcome parents. I'm Deborah Brooks. I'm one of the co-founders at My Puffin. We manufacture a play couch, which you can see in the background behind me. And today I'm welcoming Jane Kristoffy to join us. I'm very happy to have her here. Jane is an educational strategist and parent expert. She's worked in education for over 2 decades as a teacher, a guidance counselor, and an educational strategist working with school-age kids and parents, advising on school readiness, school transitions, career prep, and she recently published a book. So we're going to touch on that a little later. Before we jump in, I wanted to talk about a few housekeeping items. Jane will be giving away a book and we'll contact the winner within 3 days. So we're allowing people to enter the giveaway for 3 more days through Instagram and Facebook. If you're joining us live, please put any questions you have in the chat. And if we don't have a chance to get to them, Jane will answer them on Facebook over the next few days. So let's jump in. I'm really excited about this.
Hi, Deb.
Hi. So our topic today is learning skills, what parents can do to set the stage for learning and prepare their young kids for school. So Jane, the parents we have on here have kids of all ages, but most of our viewers have younger kids. So they're from toddler, preschool, and maybe some kids in those early primary years. Can you take a few minutes and just explain what learning skills are and why parents really need to care about it?
Okay, sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Jane Kristoffy, and I'm a mom as well. I've got 2 teenagers, so I'm at the other end of the parenting phase compared to most of the viewers today. But I can see the big picture. I've got lots of hindsight. And as an educator and parent combo, I've got some really no-nonsense tips that I can share. And I really got into depth with that information in my book called Launch Your Kid. I'll be talking about it later. But referring to the learning skills, Deb, as an educator, I think that they're the most important things for parents to be aware of and to focus on. So for your customers and your network, the My Puffin people, learning skills are going to be things that parents can be modeling and encouraging on a daily basis all the time. Learning skills would include things like organization, collaboration, critical thinking, communication, responsibility, time management. And for kids who are just starting in preschool or kindergarten, report cards that teachers are going to distribute after a certain period of time, a learning period, there's not going to be a lot of information in terms of marks. And that's what adults or parents are going to remember the most closely to their education experience. They're going to remember getting report cards and having marks like letters or grades. What kindergarten parents are going to see are mostly comments, okay? And then starting in about grade 1, depending on the school and board, so independent and private schools and school boards are going to have their own specific report card template, but usually in grade 1, there's a page that focuses on the learning skills. And a lot of parents will just skip over this page. In my experience, I would work with them in my parent-teacher interviews when I was in a formal classroom. The parents would just skip over this page, all these important, learning skills, all the work habits that come, that are required to be, strong before kids are going to be able to absorb and retain more complex concepts and ideas as they get into the deeper curriculum.
It sounds like they're really the foundation for learning.
Yes, this is what I feel has to be in place. Good learning skills, good work habits have to be in place in order for kids to be successful and get those marks. But parents tend to focus on the marks as opposed to the learning skills. And so I wrote a book about it because I want to highlight the learning skills. And I want to also draw attention to the fact that parents can really do a ton at home, starting from day 1, like when their kids are really little. You can be doing a ton at home. You don't need to be a teacher. You don't need to be, someone who's trained in early childhood or something like that. You can just be you. And being a great role model, having a lot of patience, and trusting that if you let your kids struggle through the learning process to try to figure out how to do something, you're actually really, helping your kids out. This is exactly what you should be doing.
Okay, so let's get specific then. What can parents do to get their kids ready for school? And like our audience wants specifics. So if you can lay it out.
Okay. Yep. So I would say get your kids involved in their self-care. They need to be able to get dressed, use the washroom, wash their hands, hygiene, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So at home, that is a million different things, right? Yeah. A lot of parents will just be in a rush, maybe getting out the door, and they'll just dress their kid. Let your child get dressed on their own and do some of those things. I would say clean up, following instructions around routines. So if you have a play area, I always like to encourage parents to set up their play areas or activities the way that you would see it in a kindergarten or a daycare. And, if the kids are going to be using something, have a routine around that. They can't have everything out at the same time, maybe one thing at a time. What are some of the expectations involved in using toys or puzzles or craft materials? And what are the cleanup expectations? So this is all part of being a member of the household, a part of the family team, right? Just like when you're in a classroom and then later when you're in the world. So if you're following routines and instructions at home, if there's expectations and boundaries around how to use things and how to spend time at home, kids will be ready for school and they'll be able to adapt to whatever the expectations and routines are in the classroom. So organization, another one is time management. Just an awareness of time, bath time's in 10 minutes. It's at 7 o'clock. Or you cleaned up really quickly today. I'm so excited. Aren't you proud of yourself about how quickly you cleaned up? That type of thing gives the kids an awareness of time, because time management, starting in grade 1, is in the Ontario report cards, starting in grade 1, time management is one of the learning skills that we look at as teachers. So if you can start instilling these things and also modeling, like not being in a rush to get places, being prepared in advance, these are good things.
Love it.
So those are just a few examples. There's lots more learning skills. Those are just a few that I've touched on. I don't want to overwhelm people. So.
Okay, perfect. But just in summary, so you're saying as a parent, if the learning skills are coming back, that the kids are meeting expectations or they're exceeding expectations, however it's graded, then we should give ourselves a pat on the back and not worry so much about the letter grade or the number grade in those younger years. Absolutely. Let the kids build the foundation and then go from there. I love that, because it kind of gives us a bit, we can relax a bit, right? That's good.
Yeah, I think all the way, I would say up to high school. I really emphasize the learning skills as the most important. And, a lot of it is executive function. And sometimes executive function isn't developed until the adolescent brain is really developing. They kind of develop alongside each other. And so if you're nurturing and encouraging those learning skills at home, you don't need to be a teacher to do that. Just role model and be consistent, have, very clear expectations of what happens at your house. Then I think that kids will be ready to take on whatever the curriculum demands are as they go through school.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about your book. I love the title of it. It's Launch Your Kid, How to Promote Your Child's Academic and Personal Success Without Being a Helicopter Parent. And look at all this. Like, these are my bookmarks. They're the nuggets that I have gleaned from this book. And I actually think I'm a kind of experienced mom. I have 3 kids as well. And my kids are a little older. So my youngest is in grade 6 and my eldest daughter, she is in university. So I feel like I've been around, but this is what I learned. So there's a lot of things in this book. what I love most about it is it's super practical. It actually gives you actionable things to do. But for older kids, I'm going to keep this on my bookshelf because there's actually a section called Study Skills Toolbox, which I love because, you can actually give this book to your school age kids. And, for example, my son who's in grade 8, I think I'm going to pass this to him. It's math exam prep. Like all parents could use this book. And then there's the section of it that's also the toolbox for the kids. So I think that's fantastic. We all want our kids to be successful humans, right? And I just want to talk a bit about this helicopter parent thing. So this past year has been tough, right? Like parents have been home with their kids, struggling to work with their kids in the same space. It's been hard. And I want to know what your advice is for parents not to become that helicopter parent, especially given that we've spent the last 12 months in close proximity to our kids every day. There's been very little independence there. So if you just want to talk about helicopter parenting a bit.
Okay, so a helicopter parent, this is the prevailing parenting trend of our time. I fully confess that I can be a helicopter parent at times. A helicopter parent is an overbearing, overscheduling, overpresent parent who gets involved in daily decisions, problem solving. They just are micromanaging their kids' lives. They hover overhead the way a helicopter would. And there's a lot of research that's come out recently showing the impact, the negative impact of helicopter parenting on our young people. And it really started showing its ugly head, I guess, in the 90s. Helicopter parenting started in the mid 80s. The kids who were born sort of in the early 80s, their moms were the first ones who really started demonstrating these habits. And it was because women, some of the factors contributing to this new trend, women were going back to work in droves. So activities after school became a thing. Moms weren't at home anymore. There was daycare and after school activities. The play date was invented. Okay. So moms start to go to the play date. They start to observe and compare their kids. Why isn't my Johnny talking and walking and doing all the same stuff? The number of programs and activities your kids are in started to get compared. And so then parents were really getting too involved. Another factor was an awareness of safety. There were some abductions happening in the US, and then that little boy's face was on the side of the milk carton, and America's Most Wanted show came out. There were also rules around playgrounds because there were some big injuries that happened at that time. So all of these things combined made parents kind of go, whoa, we need to get more involved. And the kids who went to college in the 90s, they showed up there and they weren't ready. They didn't have the skills to cope without mom and dad there to make the decisions for them. So here we are another couple decades later. Helicopter parenting is still prevailing. There are other styles that are popping into, the mainstream. One of them would be free range parenting. Lenore Skenazy, she had an event, I think it was in 2009 or something. She let her kids go on the New York subway, and it just went like people went viral. So there is sort of a happy medium in between there somewhere. Everybody's got to find that sweet spot for their parenting style, but just be aware of helicopter parenting. Do you really have to get involved in whatever it is that's happening with your child at a given time? Would they be better off if you backed off and left them to figure it out? And just being aware of what skills really matter in 2021 and beyond. What are the real world skills, not just the learning skills, but the real world skills that are important? And one of them is resilience. And that is the ability to bounce back after struggle. So kids who are helicoptered, they don't know how to bounce back after struggle because they haven't really experienced struggle. So that's the helicopter parenting piece. I think being at home all the time, parents are getting way too much information about the school day. Okay. They're getting involved. They're eavesdropping. They're seeing that kid answered this and my teacher shouldn't be talking to my kid that way. And I'll stay out of it. Like, we need to just let our kids live their lives kind of the way we did, back in whatever decade
Yeah.
that was. And
Yeah,
so,
we don't have to say.
yeah, and you know, just referring back to your use of the book, you've got older kids, and
Yeah.
your purpose, what you're taking out of my reference book, is something different than what the viewers today are going to take out of it. What I want younger parents to take out of it is, you know, a big picture view. Try to get an idea of the big picture, have an open mind about it, and be aware of these parenting styles and the impact that they can have on your kids. As well, be aware of the skills that it would be great if you could try to nurture in your kids. And some of those things are things like self-advocacy and resilience. Let your kids struggle. Let them take the time to figure out something. And if they fail and fall on their face, that's okay. If they don't get invited to a birthday party and everyone else in the class is invited, it's kind of a life experience. It's
really
horrible for the parents. We project all of our own feelings onto it. We probably feel worse than our kids do. But anyway, these are just a few examples of what young parents can get out of the book. It is really a reference book to have on your bedside table and pull for different reasons at different stages of your child's journey and your parenting journey.
Right. Actually, we have a question that came in that's exactly what you're talking about from Fabiana. She's finding it hard to support her son in grade 6, so a little older than some of our other parents, with everything online, right? Because this is a new world. How much is too much to check in? You know, do you give independence and believe what they're doing and what they're supposed to do? Do you trust your kid? And the reason why I love this question, Jane, is because you were talking about let your kids fail. Like, so should we just completely let them go on their own?
Well, I think about how much were your parents involved in your day-to-day when you were in grade 6, 8,
0,
11, 12, yeah, or even university?
I don't even, I mean, I think my parents looked at my report card, but I can tell you they did not know what I was doing day to day. Just like free range parenting, I would go out and play outside all day and then they'd say, come home when you're hungry. You know, like it was very
exactly
different.
what I had too. So I would say that the helicopter parent would be involved in every single thing happening at school. They'd be on top of it, probably emailing the teacher, following up after a mark. Why did this happen? Why did that? And then the free range parent would let their kid figure it out. They'd read the report card and say, whoa, what happened? So figure out that fine line in the middle. I would check in with your child from time to time. I like to use the scale of 1 to 10. How's it going? How are you doing these days? Sort of from an emotional perspective or mental health. You know, if 10 is I've never felt better and 0 is I feel horrible today, you can do the scale of 1 to 10. You can also use that for physical health and for academic health. So how are you doing at school? Is there anything I should know about? As the kids get higher, there's going to be less involvement depending on the school you choose for your child with the teachers and parent connection. And so often kids are going to fall on their face. If they don't do the work that they need to do, they'll fall on their face. But you know what? They're going to feel the feels of having a rotten mark or getting in trouble. And that is called natural consequences. And that would be what a free range parent is really into. They like the natural consequences. So what you have to do is get the feel for what you're comfortable with, what suits your family values and priorities and philosophies, and see what works. I wouldn't say, you know, leave a little kid to fall on their face, literally. You know, parents need to be more involved. I think there's a lot of common sense involved, but just be aware that there are negative impacts of over helicopter parenting.
Okay. We're almost out of time here, but I wanted to see if you have any advice for parents who are feeling overwhelmed right now.
I would say that, first of all, I'd like to validate all the parents out there who do feel overwhelmed. This is, sorry to say it, it's unprecedented. My heart goes out to parents who've got little people at home and they're trying to work and get everything done. It's enough to make you go crazy. So I'm validating your experience right now. I'm congratulating you on making it this far. I've got teenagers. My life is easier in comparison. I'm going to say fit in that self-care. Try to be as patient as you can. You know, laugh at your mistakes, talk to your kids about the struggle, like be open. You're going through this struggle too. I would say try to have a daily schedule. but don't be afraid to veer off it depending on how the day unfolds. Having a daily schedule gives everybody a bit of direction. Try to control and manage that guilt that you might feel. And don't be afraid to expect your kids to have independent time. When my daughter was born first, and when my son was born and she was coming off of her nap time, we really enforced with consistency, and it was very hard, but we really enforced quiet time during that nap time that she had just abandoned. She was in her room doing open-ended activities of her choice during the time, and mom and dad needed a break too. It took a long time, a lot of consistency. We did not give up, and it totally worked. So see if you can instill that independent time with your kids. Allow them to be bored. Boredom is not a 4-letter word. It actually is it's a space for kids to grow creativity and critical thinking, problem solving. Like, how do I entertain myself? They get to know themselves. They might read and do a project or a craft. And maybe they just daydream and do nothing. Another thing you could do in the house would be to have some kind of visual, like wear a crown or an apron or a necklace. And when you've got that piece of clothing or accessory on, you are off limits. You're busy. And
I like that.
Your kids, this is what kindergarten teachers will do. A lot of primary teachers will do it as well, because kids love asking questions to the adult that's right there. Sometimes they just need to figure it out on their own. And by the way, they're totally capable of it. So when this crown is on my head, I'm not available. You're going to have to figure it out. And then maybe after the fact, you go and can say to them, wasn't that great? You solved that whatever XYZ on your own.
I love that. I need a crown. I think I need a crown now, even for my older kids.
Me too. Or even just to wear,
love it.
To wear. Maybe that could be some My Puffin merch that you bring out in your next time.
Excellent. It will come with every play couch. I love it. A crown. Okay. Well, thank you, Jane. This has been wonderful. Really appreciate your insight, your practical advice, and it's always a good time talking to you. I'm sure our parents very much enjoyed it. And look for a copy of Jane's book. It's available on Amazon or through her website. And if you have more questions that come up, please drop them into Facebook or Instagram, and Jane will answer those for you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me today, Deb, and My Puffin. I absolutely love the couch, and I wish that I could have one. And I certainly wish that there was one in my house when I had little people. So I'll definitely be passing this wonderful product on to my network. So thanks for having me today.
Excellent.
And grab a copy of my book. Keep it on your bedside table. It will be useful from now, whatever age your little person is, until they're ready to launch into the real world. There's some really simple, no nonsense tips in there for you. So all the best. Enjoy the parenting ride.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
See you later.